The Radio Forest Podcast.
Hey, Brother Forrest, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How's Michigan treating you?
Hey, Michigan's getting up to 40 today. We got just a skiff of snow here and there left. It's unbelievable. It's like early spring.
That's a heat wave.
Man, I'm telling you.
Being from Michigan, playing a guitar, loving to hunt, you gotta know Ted Nugent, right? Surely you guys have crossed paths.
Oh, we definitely have crossed paths, and we have broke bread together this year, talked about things that are going on.
Have you guys ever hunted together?
No, there's been a couple of times we were going to do the governor's hunt out in Iowa. When Terry Branstad was governor there, he would always sponsor the hunt and have a lot of, famous people come in and what have you. But Ted and I were always, when I would be there, he'd be gone. When he was there, I was gone on tour. I mean, when a date comes up, you got to pass on this hunting deal.
And another guy from Michigan, and the new album's called Detroit Stories, Alice Cooper. You had some help with that new album, right, from Alice?
Oh, yeah. Well, Detroit Stories was preempted by Breadcrumbs, which I was involved with, along with Wayne Kramer from the MC5 and Johnny Badanjic from Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. And the bass player that we used on that session that Bob Ezrin hooked up was a Detroit boy, Paul Randolph, and I asked him if he could play in my band and go out and do my gigs with me, because after I played in the studio with him, I heard him sing, I'm thinking, man, this guy would fit so good. So he accepted, and he's, I got a bass player out of that deal, but I got to hang with my buddies. I got to hang with Alice and Bob Ezrin. I tell you, those two people, Alice is such a gentleman. He's all for the fan. He can walk in someplace, and he can't disguise himself. So if people come over, he's eating. His fork can be halfway between the plate and his mouth, and somebody come up and say, Alice Cooper, could you sign? And he'd put down the fork to sign whatever it is. I'm telling you, he's that way. Such a humble guy. And I love hanging with him and being involved because he was, giving kudos to Detroit, giving it to where we all came from. This is Mother Earth here, sprung up quite a few bands in Michigan.
We're talking to Mark Farner, guitarist, singer-songwriter from Grand Funk Railroad. Got a pretty impressive solo career as well, too. New concert DVD from Chile with Love is coming out April 6th. You can pre-order it now at his website, markfarner.com. Mark, I've always wanted to ask you this. When I was living in New Mexico, I was recently sober. The sun was shining. It was bright. I was full of life. I used to drive around all the time without my shirt on. I just loved the feel of it. But now in my 40s, I don't do that anymore. And I know the story of you first taking your shirt off on stage, the sweat, the sticky shirt. But at what age do you not take your shirt off on stage? Is there a time? Because people like Iggy Pop will never stop. Dave Navarro, I don't think he even owns a shirt. But you're famous for, you're famous for being on stage shirtless. Is there a time where you go, all right, now it's shirts forever? Because I'm at that point now where my shirt's on almost always.
Yeah, man, that's me. I'm covering up stuff. You gotta... you're not sporting that 20-year-old body anymore. In fact, you got the, 70-some years on it.
But Iggy Pop's never going to stop.
Oh, God bless him. Sport that thing, yeah.
Did Grand Funk Railroad, did you guys ever have a conversation with Frampton about maybe joining Grand Funk? I've heard some rumors both ways.
No, we never talked to him about it. We talked amongst ourselves about it and kicked it around before we put Craig Frost in the band, but that was only just a rumor.
Let's go back to your live DVD a little bit from Chile. Now, you guys didn't record the entire tour, right? You just decided, hey, we've got a great deal. They can record this show. Let's do it. So you couldn't, cherry pick from the tour. Did you do multiple nights? It was that's it. We're recording this, and whatever it is, that's the DVD.
That's the DVD. And the tour was booked. We were doing not only Chile, but we did Peru and Brazil, and we had several dates in each country. But the promoter, Carlos Pastin from Santiago, Chile, he called Abby, my manager, Abby Steinman out there in L.A., and says he had a guy from Abysmo Films that wanted to shoot the show that he was promoting there. And they would do him a really good deal or whatever. And so Abby ended up talking to this guy, and he says, calls me, says, dude, it's going to be like an 8-camera shoot. It sounds really good. And he says, I think we should do it. It's not going to be that much money up front. Let's do it. So we did it. And I am so glad we did, because there are phone footage. There are a lot of concert footage from various people, of course. Don't get the real audio. They just get what the phone's getting. So you don't really, you're not really getting fed the full thing. But there's the excitement of the songs, the people, the rev that we get from each other, the audience and the artist, how we interact with one another. But now, with this 8-camera shoot and good audio, this DVD has 16 performance tracks. It has 2 bonus videos, one of which is available right now for a free download, as Forrest said, at markfarner.com. That's got 5 bonus tracks, too, Forrest, that never been heard before. So all for $14.99, and my wife Lisa and I give $3 from every DVD sale to Veterans Support Foundation, and they are an outfit that is made up of veterans, by veterans, for veterans. They provide housing. They get people up off the street. They get in and advocate for people who need to go before the Department of Veterans Affairs. They got to have somebody to stand up for them, and these are the guys. And I love them because they're real. There's no red tape in there. They get things done. I've been working with these guys on and off. I've done a lot of things with them since back in the 70s. So I can confirm their hearts are real. Their motives are good. So that's why Lisa and I are giving it $3, but it's thanks to the fans. God bless all the fans that buy this DVD, because together we're going to help these guys. We're really going to help, and they need it.
And you've been a strong supporter of the military your entire career, and I know, didn't you go play at the Vietnam Memorial? Because I know I'm Your Captain is right there near the end of Vietnam, and I know that was a big part of a lot of people's memories, how they deciphered the song themselves. So didn't you go play at the Vietnam Memorial?
Yes. The Vietnam Veterans of America took a vote to see who, what their favorite song was from the era, and it was my song. So they called me. Keith King, who is the head of the outfit, calls me, and he says, brother, can you come and bring your guitar and sing the song? We're going to have up PA and, lights and what have you at stage. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, rather than for me to just come with an acoustic guitar and sing it, I will bring my band. We will put a show on for you guys, for all of the veterans that show up, for free. It ain't going to cost you nothing. We're just going to give you guys some love back. And we did. And it was 36 degrees out. And we were in this trailer warming our hands up on light bulbs that go around the mirror. It's like, it was brutal. But when we got to that song, brother, I'm going to tell you something. There wasn't a dry eye any place. And it was hard to sing with a softball in your neck.
When you perform
emotionally,
when you perform the song now, does that image of that show and those guys and those stories, the amputees, the PTSD, does that come back when you're singing the song? So I guess my question is, has the song changed visually in your mind as you've performed it for the last couple of decades?
It hasn't changed. It's just expanded. Because, as you mentioned, Forrest, there's no video to this song, so it's the imagination of the individual. And I talked to this guy at WNEW in New York. They polled 100 people. They wanted to get the definition, what they thought the Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel meant. And so he told me, he says, Farner, he says, we got 100 diversely different definitions. Not two of them were even close. He says, so that's got to tell you. And I think that that has kind of stifled our imagination as a nation. All these videos present one thing. There's not 100 different. It's just whatever that video says. So it put a block in music for me. We got stuck.
I want to talk to you real quick about your somewhat recent health scare / issue / ladder that you had to climb. You died. Did you have a near-death experience? Did you see lights? Did you go someplace? Were you aware that you had left your body or anything like that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Man. And I'll tell you, Forrest, the first thing you notice as you exit the bone suit is the relief of debt consciousness. And I didn't realize until the re-entry back into my bone suit just what it was. But it's compiled. It's accumulative over our lifetime. More debt consciousness. But the Lord said, "Oh, no man anything except to love him." And if we can get ourselves in that position, and we're the only ones that can, it's us who sets ourselves free from the BS that people tried to get us hooked up and believing in. And we became debt conscious and burdened down and weighted with this yoke that we can't even bear, but because it's part of that imagination. It's imaginary. The debt, you can't go to the drugstore and buy a box of it or have a dump truck dump a load in your front yard so you can wade around in it and kind of get familiar with it. It's all imaginary. So with your imagination in your mind, you can set yourself free from it all and never be indebted to another person, another thing, or owe anybody anything. You don't. Child of God, you are free.
A lot of people with near-death experiences talk about not wanting to come back, the amount of love and freedom they felt when they realized, I have to go back. They were fighting it, and they were pissed. Did you experience that?
Brother, I cannot tell you the swear words that came to my mind. I'm going, you got to be kidding me. No, I don't want. Kicking and screaming, even though, now that I'm back here, it's faint memory. But for a long time, dude, it was like so prevalent. And we're only just a hair's breadth away from there. It's part of who we are right now, but our mind has got us believing in all this video crap that's been projected into it.
As a fan, we don't know the behind-the-scenes stories, just hints. What can you tell me about Sweet Connie and Little Rock?
I can tell you that Sweet Connie, in an interview, said that Mark Farner was the only gentleman in rock and roll.
Well, there you go.
She said that, and I don't know that it's because I said no thanks. Maybe. I don't know if anybody else said no thanks, but I said no thanks, and I can tell you that Don Brewer wrote the words to that song, but when I told him, hey, this thing needs a cowbell, man, he says, I don't have a cowbell. I said, well, yeah, we got to get a cowbell. This thing needs it. It's got. He says, okay, I'll stop and pick one up on the way to rehearsal tomorrow. I said, no, I'll pick 6 of them up. And we will pick the one that goes best with this song, that tunes in with the song. So we did. And then I heard this drum intro thing, and I taught Brewer what I was hearing. I said, no, it's got to be that bass drum going, and he's going, oh, man, you can't do that. I said, tomorrow you'll be able to do it because you're going to practice that tonight. And he came in, and he could do it. All the guitar stuff and the background vocals that I came up with, I didn't get credit for that because Don Brewer came to me after we recorded, and he says, Mark, I've never really had 100% right credit on any song. Do you mind if I take it on this one? I said, go ahead. You know why, Forrest? Because I'm a nice guy, and I'm not going to let what happened as a result of that change me. I'm just going to go, okay, that's experience number 9,047.
Yeah, you've had a couple of those. Absolutely. The history of the band of Grand Funk and yourself, just with getting ripped off in Swiss bank accounts and not getting paid, is phenomenal. And you've got a book out there that talks about a lot of that. Now, you and I were talking about the song American Band and the cowbell. Now, that predates Don't Fear the Reaper. Do you think any similarities at all? Maybe they had heard that. I mean, obviously, Honky Tonk Women also had the famous cowbell. But when it comes to cowbell, classic rock songs, do you think American Band inspired Don't Fear the Reaper at all, which became famous for, the SNL skit with You Gotta Have More Cowbell?
Yeah, I think it definitely could have. And another verifiable fact is that Rolling Stone had the top 10 cowbell songs, and American Band was number 2, only superseded by Honky Tonk Women.
Yeah.
So it was up there above it. I don't know the other ones, but I know the top 2.
I want to talk about Japan real quick with Ringo Starr. It's you, Randy, John Entwistle from The Who. Dude, what a killer freaking lineup. Was that one of the best bands you ever played with?
That is another level of performance. But with Billy Preston, he's a virtuoso. During rehearsal out in Vancouver, I would look over. Billy's playing his part with his right hand. He's singing. He's got a Bible in his left hand, and he's reading the Bible while he's doing all this other stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And doing it good. He wasn't missing a note. And poor brother John, Entwistle was like deafer than a post.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. And to stand next to him, which I had to do, on stage I couldn't bear it sometimes. I had to get out of the line of fire of those speakers and get off to the side because I am not kidding. It was taking my equilibrium and doing something crazy with it. But to play with the lineup such as Bachman, Randy showed me different chords and what have you. To play with all these different guys, you're going to learn something. So, and this is powerful stuff. You're going to take it with you the rest of the trip that you're on here. And so I got in my quiver, I've got the experiences of working with these wonderful people. Felix Cavalieri, man. And,
oh, wow.
Zach Starkey, forget about it. He was locked down. And Mark Rivera, all those guys, they're givers at heart. And Ringo, God bless him, he's such a recognizable soul. He can put a hat and sunglasses on. He looks like Ringo in a hat and sunglasses.
He does. Yeah.
So, he's been bombarded with that, being a Beatle, and he could hardly even take it. He put a thing on YouTube. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No more autographs, yeah.
Yeah. He really meant that. He was really coming from a place. So we are in Tokyo, Japan, during a press conference of when we first got there. We're up on a podium at this real long table. Ringo's in the middle, and the band goes down both sides. Looks like the Last Supper. And this gal, she steps forward. She said, I would like to ask Mark Farner a question. So I stand up. And she says, I want to know, what is it like playing with Beatle? I said, honey, Ringo puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And Ringo stands up, and he says, thank you, brother. And he comes over, gives me a big hug, man. It was wonderful to see that part of him, because he is just a guy, he just wants to be a guy. He doesn't want to be this lifted up all the time, this, hey, sometimes that's cool. You can use that, but he doesn't want it, 100% of the time. And so for him, just to be recognized as being a man, wow, that made his whole trip.
What about seeing Hendrix perform live, running into him, chatting with him? What was the passing in your life of Jimi Hendrix through meeting him and seeing him live?
Well, the first time I saw him was at Fillmore East, and I think it was Jethro Tull opened up for Grand Funk there, and Jimmy was in the audience. I didn't realize it. But as we went back to the dressing room, Terry Knight was leading the way, and Terry Knight, our manager, never led the way for any of this. I mean, there was always somebody else leading the way, and he would be dragging up the rear. I thought, this is kind of funny, wonder what's up. So he opens the dressing room door, I turn the corner, and there's Jimi standing inside my dressing room. I go,
Wow.
oh, my God. You know, the most intelligent thing I could come up with to say to my guitar god hero was, "You're a great guitar player, man." It's like, oh, my God.
Oh,
dude.
no.
I was starstruck to the bone.
That's hilarious. Hall of Fame calls tomorrow. Do you accept? Do you decline? Do you ignore? Oh, not if you should be in, but if they call you tomorrow and say, hey, it's time, let's get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as Grand Funk.
That's exactly what my words would be back to them. It's time. It's about time. You know, that's all I could say, because it is a political arena there. Name me in an arena that's not really political. I mean, there's always some kind of cash flow mentality to it.
Oh, last question. Something I wanted to bring up that I'm super curious about. Your Cherokee Heritage, is that from your mother's side? Is that where that comes from?
Yes, it would be my great-grandmother, Ko'one. Her name was Elizabeth Ko'one Jones, but her native name was Ko'one. But to spell it, man, forget about it. You could say it, but you can't spell it. And my mother told me that my great-grandmother had healing hands, and that people would come to Leachville, Arkansas, where she lived, just by her hands being on them, putting her hands. I don't know how, it went, but people got better. Even if it was only in their own mind, thank God that it worked, I believe, because the closer you are to the earth and the closer you stay to your heart, which is comprised of love, the more useful you will be in all arenas.
And how did it feel then to be recognized by, I believe, 2 different nations and receive awards from the Native American community?
Well, it's, of course, for me, man, it's like, forget about it. I don't need a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame trophy or whatever because of what it is. But from my great-grandmother's people, from my mother's people, and to be recognized and given a medal of honor, that's what it is for me. And to know that Cherokee men esteem their wives to be equal with themselves. And that's why there's no divorce in the tribe. I mean, Lisa and I have been married 43 years. And when we're going on 143, we're going to try for 143, dude. About the love, man, and that's what it is.
Mark Farner, guitarist, singer, songwriter, Grand Funk Railroad. He's got his DVD From Chile with Love. It comes out April 6th. It's markfarner.com. He's got a song you can download for free. He's got a new video. Mark, thanks for the chat, man. Best of luck to you. You know the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will come knocking eventually.
Well, I hope so, Brother Forrest. It's been good talking to you this morning, and for all the listeners at KKGL-FM, God bless y'all.